Hey guys, Tom here with Green Mountain Projects, bringing you a review video today of a product that is of the LED nature. So this thing is going to be pretty sweet. Basically, a company called Hawkglow reached out to me, who specializes in LED products, specifically in the automotive industry, LED headlight bulbs, stuff like that. So they made a new set of cube lights that, they're hitting the market with. So we're going to open these up and, give them a little bit of review. Then we're going to put them into use and see how they are. So let's get this thing unboxed. So first off, they obviously have pretty decent packaging. It's got some good foam in here. As you can see right here, always good to see when things are protected. That's the first step, because a broken product doesn't even have a chance with me. Then it comes, we got a little product manual. It's got some good information. These do have amber backlighting. This also has information about high beam, low beam. There's a daytime running light and, basically what the wires do. It's got the dimensions. It's got all the information that you could need to know. So check that out. We've got amber covers, which is cool. So these are amber covers for the lights that you can snap right over these things. The amber light cuts through like fog and like dense snow a lot better than your typical, white LED lights do. They tend to kind of blind you in those scenarios. So pretty sweet to have. I didn't know these actually came with it, so that's pretty cool. Next thing out of the box, we have got a wiring harness. So right here, it's a full wiring harness with relays, switches, and nice plugs to plug right into the lights. So far, this looks pretty high quality. We'll go through this in a little bit more depth in a few minutes. Next item out of the box, we got some yellow wire with some connectors. This is for the daytime running light leads, so you can tap into your DRLs on your vehicle. Now we got some brackets. So first look at these brackets here. They're pretty low profile, unlike some other LED lights I've used in the past. Sometimes they have big bulky brackets that come around the outsides of them. This is like nice and tight and centralized, so you're not seeing the bracket. It's kind of keeping the footprint of the light pretty minimal, so I do like the bracket. Looks like it's got one big bolt for mounting, and then you got two small bolts with Allen heads that would go up through the bottom of this bracket and into the light. All right, and finally, we're getting to our lights itself. First impression, I think they look pretty good. They have a pretty high quality appearance to them, a really good, nice, strong aluminum housing, probably carved right out of a piece of billet. It's got a solid cord on it, good 3-prong connector here, plus your additional DRL connection. It's got some high quality sealant on the back of these things to seal these up, make sure no moisture driving in the rain and the snow, it doesn't get into this. It's a pretty sizable light, roughly 4 inches at the widest points. Pretty sleek looking, I'll give you that. It's got reflective lighting in it, so it actually has, inside the light housing, there's a curved reflective surface that the light hits that and then reflects back out. You can see here around the top, or around the whole perimeter of the light lens, this is where the amber lights are, which you could hook up to blinkers or to daytime running lights. I will say my overall impression of these lights is I'm pretty impressed. I think they look very well made. They've got good waterproofing, appear durable. The lens appears durable. Unlike most LED lights, this lens actually has 4 bolts that hold it on. So this might be replaceable in the case that you had something that cracked a lens. I don't think you'd be able to crack this. So we have our amber cover, which just slides right over the lens, just like that. There's little cutouts that are specifically cut out for where the amber light actually is on these for the daytime running lights when the lens is off, so that you're not obstructing that brightness of that amber, since it's not as bright as the white. But the rest of the white light is going to be coming out amber to help you in those foggy and snowy situations. Overall, my first opinion of unboxing and looking at this is it's overall pretty high quality. LED lights have come a long ways in the last couple of years. Most lights you get online, they don't come with a wiring harness. You have to buy it separately. This came right with it. And this one's specifically set up for these lights because it's got 2 connection points. They give you plenty of slack, which is another issue that you will encounter with other brands, where you know, basically you get a wiring harness, but it doesn't reach where you want it to go. So you can see here at the end of it, you've got your 2 plugs, which basically these are what plug into the back of the lights. Following down your wiring harness, those plugs come to your relay, which is a 4-pin relay, which basically means there's a power source. So you have a 12-volt constant power. You have your switch source, which is what initiates the connection of the 12-volt to the supply. You have your auxiliary power, which is basically the connection wire that goes to the light itself, and then there's your ground. So what happens is when you activate power, it sends a signal to this thing, which triggers the switch inside of this relay, which then allows the power to go to your lights. With that, we have a nice inline fuse, which comes with a 10 amp fuse. So that will help protect your battery and your relays and all that good stuff. Then off of your fuse, you have your battery connections. So you have a red and a black wire, which red is positive and black is your negative. So these would go right in your battery terminals. Simple as that. So right from the box, you know, this thing's plug and play. Then following the smaller wire, not the one that goes to the lights, nice long wire, and it actually has some connections so that you could disconnect it, which is very handy when trying to run through your firewall. It's a lot harder to get a big plastic switch through the penetration point on a firewall than it is just a couple wires that you could pull through with a little snake or something. So this comes to your switch, which has lighting, which basically says on or off, on or off. So there's a high and a low beam. So we have 2 buttons. In a way, you probably could use these as like a pair of headlights on like an ATV or a UTV or something like that if you needed to. So overall, like this wiring harness, I'm a big fan of it. Looks well put together, well thought out. I do like the switch. There's a little more to this switch. The buttons don't feel janky like most of the ones you get if you order an Amazon wiring harness. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with it. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna actually hook this up and show you guys how this thing kind of works. All right, guys, so what I got here is I got my big Milwaukee M18 battery. First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this harness that I got in a nice mess. It's gonna plug our lights in. My battery right here, my positive and my negative. These little round terminals kind of like will work perfect to be pinned into here. And now I got light. Oh, Jesus. So basically here, you know, on your switch, you've got an on-off and an on-off. One is green, one is red. So the green is your low beam. So if you're hitting that, it is just turning on this top portion of the light. If you're looking for the high beams, you hit the red. Turns on both the top and the bottom of the light. So say you have the low beam on and you hit the high beam, it overrides it and turns on both. And then if you hit the high beam, it shuts it back and goes to low. And that's why there are 2 relays. It's kind of nice to have the flexibility of the amount of light you get. It's just cool. Whenever you turn the light on, regardless of high or low beam, it does turn the orange light. Something I'm noticing about the low beam too is it's actually projecting a legitimate low beam out, just like your factory low beams would do. It would give you a distinct low beam line that's not hitting people in the eyes. So it makes this thing actually usable on the road at night, so which is kind of nice. Spooky. Now additionally, you have your yellow lead right here, which is for this little bundle of yellow supplied wires, which they actually give you 2. This would connect right here, little blade connector things. Each light plug has one on it. And then this wire would go and you could tap into your vehicle's daytime running lights or to your blinkers. So in that way, you know, if you're turning right, you're only turning this one on when it's blinking. Or if you turn left, this one's blinking, or they're both on all the time with your daytime running lights. So overall, I mean, these things are pretty damn bright. I am impressed. I didn't realize it would have this distinct low beam actual line. I just assumed it was a little less bright. All right, just to give a little bit more of an understanding, I've laid out the whole wiring harness on this table and zip tied it down, so it's kind of nice and tidy. And starting here, you have your battery, which, you know, this will be connected to your car, your 12-volt car battery. So you get your power that then goes through this fuse right there, which basically the fuse is protecting the rest of your system. So then your power then comes into your 2 relays here, which are for the high and the low beam lighting. Going from there, you have the wires that go out to the lights here, connect to the connectors over here. You have the yellow wires, which are those DRL wires, which I have running back to this power source. Then over here is the switch that goes right here, and then I have the high or the low beam lights. I'm gonna roll this thing out into my backyard. It's dark right now, and I'll show you what it looks like.
All right, guys, I'm gonna interrupt this video right now because I want to give a little shout out to Super Clean. So Super Clean is a product that I've been reached out to and worked with a few times, as I've got a video with some of their products in it on my channel already. But they basically reached out again, said, hey, you want a couple more products, which I would absolutely never turn down. These things are basically top of the line when it comes to your degreasers. You know, Super Clean's got a handful of good products out on their line. Foaming degreasers. This is like the good old OG right here. You know, just all around super strong degreaser. Definitely recommend go picking some of this stuff up. You know, if you haven't tried it, go get yourself some, or you have, go buy yourself some more. Enjoy being super clean.
Low beam first. And look at that beam. You know, it's pretty much focused right there, a nice low angle, and it's not up high getting people, you know, where their eye level would be if you're passing them. Then, you know, you're on the back roads, no one's coming by you, and hit the high beam. Floodlights, way brighter, and you're getting a huge amount of light thrown down the road. You know, this is what you'd want to throw on if you're off-roading. Obviously, these can be adjusted up or down. So let me go back to my low beams. You'd adjust this thing up and down to make sure that this light portion is not right where you don't want it. So now we're going to come around to the front. I'm going to put the DRLs on without the low beams. So I can only get one of the DRLs to stay in the battery. So just going to be showing you this one for now, but that is, it's actually really bright. Like the orange light put off is pretty decent. Now here I am, I'm standing about 25-ish yards away. I've got just the low beams on. Now I've got the high beams on. I'll say these things are pretty sweet. Something I almost forgot to just show was also with those orange caps on the lights. So you can see here, I've got them on. It is still very bright. This has got the high beams on right now. Here, I'll pop this off so you can see the difference. You can see kind of the white on the left, orange on the right. I'll pop that orange cover and boom, look at that. So what I decided to do is I put the bolts through the holes utilizing the logo, the Move Bumper logo on my front bumper. I also have, you know, spaces that I can fit this plug through. This plug is a good plug since it has to be a 3-prong. The only problem is it's big, so you can't just drill a small hole and push the wire through it unless you were to snip these and then reconnect them after it's through whatever you're passing it through. Luckily, the logo on this has some larger openings on it, so I can slip this in and you don't see too much of the wire sticking out. Now I'm just adjusting the light, aimed correctly. All right, got my lights mounted. They look real nice right here, centered on my bumper. So now I'm gonna get the wiring harness installed and show you how that goes. And you wanna locate your battery. So basically this is mine right here. I got my positive and my negative terminal. You're gonna take the nuts off of those and directly connect that wiring harness to that positive and that negative. So I've got the wiring harness right here. On this end is the positive and negative leads, which I'm gonna want over here by the battery. We've got the switch right here, which I'm gonna dangle off the side of my truck out of the way for now. And then we have the portion that goes down to the lights itself, which we're gonna run down. There's a nice kind of gap in my engine bay right here behind the headlight, and it'll be a perfect place for me to feed this right down so it can get to the lights. Now I do have a little extra wiring here. This is my lead for my snowplow, so I'm gonna just pull that out of the way so I have some room to fish this back down. Now an easier way to fish things, you know, I've got this piece of Romex here, but it's, you know, it's pretty stiff because it's 12 gauge. What I'll do is I'll actually push that down where I want the wire to go, because it's a lot easier to get this through the wiring that's there and down into like my wheel well. And then once that's down there, I'll just tape the end of this wiring harness to it and then pull it through. So I'm gonna take my 2 leads that I want to go down, and we're gonna tape it up.
got this pulled all the way through as far as I need it. Now I'm just gonna run these through my bumper. I got my 2 leads from the wiring harness. I'm gonna just unscrew this hot wire here. That on there. The positive terminal. Then you're gonna take your ground. Your positive, your negative. So now I should have power to this and the ability to turn it on and off. So now I've got my wiring harness run to the lights, to the battery, and the last thing is the switch. As you can see here, it is appropriately working. That's my high beams, that's just the low beams, and then that's off. So what I want to do is I want to run this through the firewall of my truck so that I can get it into the cab where I'd be sitting when I'm driving it, so that I can turn it on and off as needed. For running through the firewall, you're going to want to look in this area right here and reach down into this space here. You could also look underneath the dashboard, but there'll be like a big round bushing, and maybe a few of them of different sizes. So we're going to find that, and then we will push this remote either through it, or we're going to have to disconnect these connectors here, which you can see there's a little detent right here in the middle. You pry that out, and then that will let these release. Barely enough room to even get my hand down here. And we're going to come into the cab. You want to make sure you might get caught up on those connectors, so I'm going to kind of get down here and help wiggle them around, help them through the hole so they don't get ripped. Got it kind of freely coming in now, so all the slack is pulled at this point. So now we've got our switch here. Alright guys, so this wraps up my video here on these Hawkglow 4.5-inch LED off-road lights. And let me tell you, I am a huge fan of these things. They're, you know, super bright. They're probably the brightest LEDs on my truck. These are super bright. I was not expecting it. It's also really dope that they have the multifunction of low and high beams. That being said, you know, go get yourself a set of these if this is what you're looking for. Hope, you know, I clarified some good information about this and everything from the installation process to how they actually work. You can get 15% off using my code. Tell them that I sent you. The code is green15, and that'll get you 15% off on Hawkglow's website. So go check it out. The link is in the description, as well as the information for the discount. So check them out and stay tuned for more videos like these. Thanks guys.